Hey guys, Robert here, and I got for a return visit, and the first time in about a year actually, Mark Poulton. Thanks for joining. And I just realized last time neither one of us used vid cams before. Now both of us are.
Yeah, we're both stepping up.
Yep, definitely. So yeah, since last time we've talked, you put out a couple more books, and just looking over it, you've definitely become one of the more prolific ones. Now, some of these were supplemental books that came out with it, but yeah, you got, not counting the supplements, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 books. I mean, already that, again, not counting the supplement books, that puts you almost right on par with some others like Tim Lim and the others and all that. And I mean, how do you do it? How do you put out so much?
The biggest lesson I ever learned during my comics career was always have your next project ready. When I was working for DC Comics, scripting Hawkman, I was also writing Evangeline for Image. And when Evangeline got canceled, I was like, well, I still got Hawkman, and things are going great there. And then one day I woke up. I went to work, and on my way home, I saw I got a notification. Someone had tagged me in a tweet that said, "I sure hope Mark still has a job after this." And I was like, "What's going?" "What's going on?"
Oh no!
Yeah.
And that was after the stuff was Rob, right, leaving and all that.
Yeah. So I found out online I no longer had a job at DC. I was so busy working on those two projects and working a day job. I had nothing in the pipeline lined up for my own. And I was like, that's never going to happen to me again. I'm always going to have, a bunch of projects going on at once, because when we're doing this, especially, on the indie level, a lot of us have day jobs. So it takes a lot longer to get projects completed. So I have all these projects going on. So, as one completes, the other ones are inching there.
In the works.
Yeah.
Yep, that is a smart move. I know that people like you, Doug Temple, when he was doing them, since he sends to a pause on them, Tim Lim, that's all seems to be the same thing. Get the next one that works while the one is still in the campaigning phase and everything, and just keep that cycle going. But you all have at least 3 different titles. And if I remember right, is Sea Dog and Codename Killswitch in the same universe as Graveyard Shift and all that?
Yeah.
All in the same universe. Yeah.
Yeah, and Viking Wolf, which so I'm currently fulfilling Sea Dog and Codename Killswitch 2. I actually
got that one right here.
Thank you for the support. But I also have books coming in from the Viking Wolf campaign. So once I'm done with Sea Dog, I'm going to start fulfilling Viking Wolf.
Geez, I did not back that. Unfortunately, I feel a bit stupid. I only got so much money.
No, it's understandable, and the other volumes will always be available in the next campaign, so don't worry about it. But my wife, I'm surrounded by stacks of books and stacks of Gemini mailers down here in my basement. My wife was like, "Will we ever have the basement clean again?" and I was like, I don't see that happening in the foreseeable future, because we're going to keep doing campaign after campaign. I mean, as long as there's a demand for it.
Yep, and then of course U.S. Assassin, and the third one's going to be a crossover directly with Graveyard Shift. Yep. And from what I understand, it looks like Malin is the one who handles at least a lot of the shipping and all that stuff of Graveyard Shift, correct? Because that's where I got it from him. And
so I handled the first Graveyard Shift fulfillment. Then John decided, since I work a day job, he wanted to take over. So he's fulfilled the last 2 or 3 campaigns.
Yep. Because I just find it so funny that he lives in Michigan, same state I'm in, and I follow the track, and it goes up to Pittsburgh, and it has to come right back. It's like, I know, I get why he's all in a bunch. I get that. But just imagine from my point of view, you're like, it's from Michigan. Should be there. But it's like, nobody has to go with everything else, and then come right back. It's like, no.
I agree. The post office needs to streamline their system a little better.
Yep, but yeah, though, with Graveyard Shift, with the newest ones you just had come out, I mean, picking up where the supplemental book had left off, you're dealing with werewolves now in other universes. What made you decide to broaden it to other universes and everything, the multiverse?
So Van Helsing was revealed as our big bad guy, and he's the werewolf in our universe, but he's also the bad guy. But our team is sort of like the universal monsters as superheroes. So we needed that werewolf on our team. So, hey, there's another Van Helsing out there. He's basically Helsing is basically our Cable. He's come from another dimension to whip this team into shape. And
that's a good comparison. That's a good comparison. And the one they're dealing with is basically the Strife version.
Yep.
And and then you have with the supplemental, you're introducing more characters in here, like Ruiner, Nightwalker, and Lilith. And we'll be seeing them showing up more, or are they going to be more kept to the supplemental for the time being?
Yeah, no, Ruiner and Nightwalker are going to become big players in the Graveyard Shift universe.
Nice.
Volume 4, which is already written and being drawn now, introduces like 40 new characters. So the universe is expanding. Oh, yeah, definitely. And
again, now, guys, just the idea of introducing so many characters all at once. Are you ever afraid of reaching, and I mean this in a fun way, I'm not trying to be insulting to the guy, but the Liefeld level of having so many characters, but then hardly doing much with them and all that? Are you ever afraid of reaching that?
So that's the thing. Like Rob was a huge like IP factory, and there's a lot of hidden gems in Rob's catalog of characters that were never like that had so much potential that were never used. I created all these characters, and so many of them I saw, they should have their own book. They're so cool. And with doing these supplemental books, maybe they'll have an opportunity now to like get their own stories. Who knows? Maybe even spin off into their own book.
Right. I was just asking because, there's always that fear. You have so many characters that you're always afraid someone's going to fall by the wayside. And I'm grateful that you don't have yet, of course. I mean, especially, when you have Codename Killswitch, you have so many right there and everything. It's just like, but at the same time, they also work. You make sure, I like Rebel because she's like Harley Quinn without the insanity almost. Is that a good way of putting it?
Yeah. No, that's a definitely a good way.
Yeah, and all of them, and yeah, I mean, but so with these though, like, where do you plan on? When are they going to meet up with Graveyard Shift?
I don't know. Eventually I would love to do a crossover with all my books. U.S. Assassin is crossing over with Graveyard Shift right now in the current volume, which is on Indiegogo,
which I'll be doing soon. Yep.
Awesome. And I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but there's going to be a cool ending to that where you're going to see possibly some other characters from my universe.
Nice. Again, the fact is that I wish there was more people like you're building this whole universe, which I feel is what Comicsgate as a community, some of their products should be doing. And I've noticed you've had some other people involved with the supplemental books and everything. It just feels like, I think I might have said it on our last stop, but I feel that's what needs to be done to help make this place more viable. Have both, not just have it just rely on just the one creator and be like, oh no, only they can do it. Like, no, have it be that this is something where you could have more than one creator. You have this big universe and everything, and have it all coexist, or even have it be they all exist in the multiverse and they can beat up stuff like that. I feel that's the smarter way of doing things. You know what I mean? To appeal to other people through these different characters.
Yeah, and Graveyard Shift is such a huge success. Maybe some of those readers that haven't jumped on to U.S. Assassin or my other books, they'll pick this up because it has Graveyard Shift.
Exactly.
And they'll realize, U.S. Assassin's pretty cool, or Viking Wolf looks awesome. I want to try them out. And the thing with the supplemental book, CG has been so good to John and I. The supplemental books were a way of giving back to a lot of the new talent that never had a paid job in comics before. This was their first chance at getting paid comic work.
Right. I like Mike's comment there. You will eclipse Rob's in no time. Probably. If you do any more big teams, you probably will. Hey, have you I just want to ask out of curiosity, have you ever kept up with contact with Rob or anything? Has he checked out any of your stuff?
I haven't heard from Rob in a few years. Yeah, no, I don't know. It's just I've reached out to him. John and I dedicated the last Graveyard Shift book
Mm-hmm.
to him, and I reached out to see if he would like a copy of it. Never got a response. So
that stinks.
Oh well.
Yep. Oh well. But yeah, and I remember when we talked about U.S. Assassin, you mentioned it was based off of American Ninja, correct? And
yeah, one of my favorite movies.
For a brief time, I don't know if it still is, that was for free on YouTube for a good length of time.
No, that's awesome.
Yep, I'm surprised you didn't push other people to check it out, because I definitely at least watched a little bit of it. I'm like, oh, yep, I definitely see it now. I definitely see the influence and everything, and yeah. So, but yeah, but was going back to those who didn't check out the interview and the prior interview and everything, with some of the the characters you've had and everything, you said the universal monsters and everything, but at the same time, you also try to be a little on the edgier side. Now, when it comes to the the artwork, I know that's Malin doing it, of course, but I'm not going to talk about that one page from the first volume. Or we went over that before, and I don't need to repeat it.
Yeah, let's talk about it. My DMs finally died down about
from that one. But again, just the idea. Then you wrapped up everything, and you think for a moment like, oh, it's all over at the end of volume 2. Then the supplementals, bring the werewolves and everything into it, and you're just like, oh, there's never a quiet moment, is there?
No, that's like one of the things with Graveyard Shift. We want to keep building the stakes higher and higher, so each threat gets bigger and bigger, and what we're building up to is just incredible, and it's a reason why we're introducing all these new characters in the next volume, because the threat is so extreme coming up for Graveyard Shift.
Yep. So it's going to be beyond Dracula and all that, right? It's going to be like, because I see you ended with the first book with the Black Emperor. I mean, any clues? Can you give any hints to that? Like what the influence is for that character? Heavy
Lovecraft influence.
Oh, once you say that, that's it. Say no more. Once you say that, that explains so much. Now, I'm not being nitpicky when I say it, but I do notice that the volume 3 was a bit on the thinner side compared to it. Was that intentional, or compared to the other books? I
think story-wise, it's about the same amount of pages. I think just the back matter, there was more.
That's true.
There was more.
I wasn't trying to be insulting.
Not at all.
It was just something I noticed, and I was wondering, like, was that intentional, or that's all? So, now you got a point there. There's a bit more stuff back there. I was just curious, because when you hold them up next to each other, one kind of stands out, so it's like...
Right.
Oh. But again, with the supplementals, again, just, like, what else can you tell us about with the new characters, like Ruiner or Nightwalker, or Lilith, even? Like, what are their influences?
Well, the idea with the Lilith story, we just wanted to go into her origin. So little's known about her, except she's like this cold, B of the team.
right. Sorry, I knew. When I asked the question, I meant to talk about the first two, and with Lilith, the backstory, because you never really got that much about her. We just knew her, and then she got changed, and then
Yep. But with the other characters, we hinted at the end of volume 2 that there was other heroes out there besides Graveyard Shift. So we wanted to start introducing them. Nightwalker is sort of like our street level Batman Daredevil type vigilante. He's Graveyard Shift's, gateway to the superhero community. So they're going to use him to like recruit heroes that they need for this big epic, threat that's coming their way. Ruiner is this powerhouse who has experience dealing with like the Black Emperor and this threat that's coming. So he'll be very key to the upcoming mission.
Now, who's stronger, Ruiner or Mike?
It probably depends on if you ask me or John.
Well, I'm asking you.
Oh man, I have to go with my boy Mick. He's the original.
Okay, I thought so. I mean, it's kind of like when you say Hulk or Thing. It's like because I know a lot of people say always Hulk, but people always underestimate Ben Grimm. It's like no, it depends on the writer. Grimm is shown to do feats that he doesn't normally do, but he has done in the past. now if I recall right, yeah, your son helped you out with this. So what was his influence on the second volume?
So for those that don't know, Chase helped me create Sea Dog. It was a character we originally were going to do in a solo book, but when Clint hit me up and asked me to work on a project, I was like, well, I have this character, and Clint was like, well, I have this whole team. I was like, maybe we can just mash it up and do a team up book. And so Chase was very instrumental in Sea Dog's origin story, and some of the little gags he helps out with. But he and I eventually were planning a Sea Dog solo story because he desperately wants a Sea Dog solo book and plushie. He wants me to crowdfund that, and I was like,
he already understands the business. He already understands the business.
Smart kid for 11 years old. So I promised him that eventually we will get there.
Oh, that is awesome! That is awesome. Again, that he 11 years old, he already understands he knows well enough at least to be like, I want it to be a solo. I want to have my own, its own toy. It's like, hey kid, you're going to fit right in very well. But I noticed though that Sea Dog didn't factor a lot into this one, except when he, of course, finds the kid's name,
Peter.
Yeah,
Yep.
Fine it, and seeing him actually return back to his dog form, which was something that was talked about in this one. Yeah, and all that. So
we were wrapping up the Sea Dog Peter story, and then sort of going into the Stormborn Dragonborn story. So that took a little more of the focus in volume 2, and that'll carry over into volume 3.
Nice. But yeah, it was nice to see Sea Dog as his old dog self again. Because. Again, I just felt so bad when with a kid when it's like, I want my dog, just you to be my dog again, and then once he does it, it's like, well, wait, no, people need you. It's one of those things, but in this case, though, it was understandable on both sides of the issue. It's not one of those where the person's being selfish and then coming to realization. It's like, no. It's an understandable thing because as Sea Dog, he was a bit of an arrogant,
Yeah, no, he was a real jerk in the first volume towards Peter. So, afterwards, he really, once Peter was kidnapped, he realized what a jerk he had been, and it got him to think, maybe things were better when he was just Peter's puppy. So, that was my favorite scene in volume 2.
Yeah. And I loved it.
Oh, thank you. So yeah, I really that moment was really important for me to include that in the book.
Yep. And then was U.S. Assassin. I mean, when we last talked, you only had the first one out. The second one wasn't out, but then we get a lot of his backstory and everything in here. And again, it's just so interesting. You have all these characters, some of which your son helped out with, like I'm blanking on the name, the snake guy.
Slither. Yep.
Slither. Yep. And then you also have the dog, Bazooka Dog, and he's going to get his own flip book in the with the current campaign for Volume 3. The other character is
the mercenary.
And this is all in one universe. So this is all, I wouldn't say required reading, but definitely needed reading, right?
Yeah, no, the mercenary is a new character we're introducing. He's actually a real person. I licensed the character. He's a pro wrestler, the mercenary Flip.
I had a feeling of a wrestling vibe when I looked at it. It's like, why am I feeling almost like a Sergeant Slaughter kind of,
Yeah, that was my whole my idea behind it. G.I. Joe is my favorite comic book of all time. It's what got me into reading comic books.
I can tell.
Yeah.
Real American Ninja.
Yeah. So I wanted since the book was going in a team direction, I wanted that Sergeant Slaughter for the U.S. Assassin team, and I thought the mercenary would be perfect for it. So I reached out to him. I asked him if it was something he'd be interested in, and he was on board. And we struck up a licensing agreement really quick. And nice. He's been awesome to work with, and hopefully the campaign's doing great. So I would hope it's working. The idea of help bringing some of his audience in too to check out the book.
Yep. So but again, it was just the idea was U.S. Assassin and Bazooka Dog and all that. Just so again, so much clever ideas, so many imaginative ideas that you don't really see that much outside of the indie comic book scene. It's like, it feels like when you do stuff in the current days, the main two, there's always like a certain formula you have to follow. Have you ever gotten that vibe when you were working at DC? If you're making a new character, you're either going to be overshadowed by the big hero, or there's just going to be a specific archetype?
Well, honestly, the brief time I was at DC, I think there really wasn't a focus on creating new characters. They wanted you to mine their existing characters, and because they don't want to pay out like royalties for new creations. And
That's
stuff
true.
Like that.
Of course, you would then redesign them during New 52. You'd be redesigning some of their characters, though, of course. So you might as well be making new characters.
Yeah, but like I don't know, just the vibe I get. I feel like the books I do and the indie books that we're seeing now, more in general, are just fun books. They just seem fun. Where you don't get that over at the big two. At least in my opinion, the books seem very serious.
Oh yeah, and which is fine. That's for one audience as well. But yeah, I miss the old fun time books. Now, of course, there's a big difference. You don't want to mix the tones, like have it be like a all serious setting, and then the person's completely a clown, and you're like, unless you're going for a comedy, but you know what I'm saying, right? Where it's like you don't want an all serious setting, a mostly serious tone, but a completely goofball character who's a complete jerk because they're not taken seriously. That's a turn off, I've noticed, Yeah. But I can't. I mean, I'm not thinking of any examples. That just came to my tip of my head of what I wouldn't want to see.
Right.
But yeah, and now here's the question: are the little graveyard shift? Do they exist in the multiverse, and will they show up ever, even for a cameo?
You know what? They probably exist in their own alternate dimension. I don't know if they would ever cross over with.
It'll be a visual gag, though, right? It would just be a visual.
Yeah, but I don't know. I could see them crossing over with like a Sea Dog or a Bazooka Dog.
Oh, geez. I'm just imagining, with Bazooka Dog. Oh, boy. Little Lilith would just be riding at him, and little Mick would probably be all like, staring him down or something. You'd just be like, hey, monster the dog and all that. Hey, they're a good, clever idea, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So now you guys going to keep doing more of those? Like, what's the next graveyard shift? Another little graveyard shift, or what?
Yeah, I don't know if we'll do it every campaign, but they'll definitely return, maybe every other, something like that. I think what we're building to is eventually get enough of these stories where there can be a thick little graveyard shift book for a collection for people.
Which I would definitely get then when that happens, because I missed out on getting the physical version of the first one. I missed out. I mean, getting the digital one was fine, but just so wrong when you have this stack and it's not part of it. But yeah. So now, how far ahead do you have Graveyard Shift planned? Like, you said you're working on something big, of course, but like, how many volumes ahead, or is that just the next volume right now?
So John and I, we have like 12 volumes mapped out. Ooh. Like, definitely. And then if we get to there and there's still demand, we have 6 more volumes mapped out.
Oh, nice.
So we have, theoretically, we can go to 18, and then we'll figure it out after that if there's still demand. Because as long as there's demand, we're obviously going to keep making them.
Right, obviously. But that's nice that you have at least a 12-volume story at least thought out. Any definitive, like, if you were to end it, how you would end it, or do you have anything like that? Just, on the back burner,
Yeah, we have an idea of what we would do if we ended it. But when we say,
obviously you don't want to go with it. Obviously, but just saying it never hurts though to have it prepared. Because sometimes you want to end it as they go off into the sunset. Other times you want to just leave it like adventure continues. But there's some people who wouldn't mind, like, if you want to close the door on it.
Yeah, no, that's why we said we mapped it out to volume 12. And then if the demand is still great, then we have like this 6-volume arc afterwards. But if it ends after 12, then, we'll be satisfied with that as well. But, we're planning, hopefully, to start doing more than just one Graveyard Shift campaign a year, so people won't have to wait. People won't have to wait 12 years to get all.
Exactly.
All 12 volumes.
exactly, and that's again why I like it. How you don't just rely just on John just to do the artwork or Mike just to do it for you as assassin. I like how you have these different artist teams that really help that out because that is one because not everyone can be as speedy as again just bringing up as an example Tim Lim or someone. Not everyone can be that whole like getting it all out and everything. So I would like that too, just to get it all done within. Getting multiple books from one creator in 1 year, that's what I want to see. That is what I like. And you are one of the few who do that. How you just have these multiple campaigns. And of course, then I have to decide, okay, do I wait for it to go to in demand? Do I wait for this? Do I, how much do I want that bonus book and all that? Like, I'll say, if I could be honest, just due to my financial issues when it comes to U.S. Assassin, I am on the fence. Do I do the full, the one book, or do I go with the full $50 and get the two books and everything? It's that price point that unfortunately really, does it for me. Because, in my opinion, now you've been doing it with the other campaigns, so you probably have a better insight. I just say, my opinion, I do think there should be some price adjustments going forward for other campaigns. In my opinion, of course. I'm just going to give you my opinion on that.
Well, one thing I did do with U.S. Assassin 3, for people who signed up for the mailing list, if you were new to U.S. Assassin, if you were a new reader, there was a secret tier just for you where you could get the collected edition, which is volumes 1 and 2, and book 3 for $40. So that's 3 volumes for $40.
That's awesome. Now, I already got them, so that doesn't apply to me, but that is good. But that is good, and doing that specifically for new people. Really, that is a smart move because, sometimes some people feel like they're almost being punished for coming in late.
Well, I mean, we're doing, like, now that, like, Graveyard Shift is in 3 volumes and U.S. Assassin is 3 volumes and Sea Dogs eventually we're going to be to volume 3, we can start doing the collected editions and offering them at a cheaper price. So you're getting two volumes basically for the price of 1 book.
Yep. Now, what? Now you're going to do that for the first 3 books. Then what? Is the next one going to be a 4-book collection, or are you going to just do the collection, the volume 4, and then volume 5, or like how's that going to work?
Well, I think we'll do a collected edition after every 2 volumes. So the next Graveyard Shift collected edition would be volumes 3 and 4. And then, like, same with U.S. Assassin, Sea Dog, all the rest.
All right. So and that makes sense. So now, are you just going to keep it to these 3, or do you plan on doing? Oh no, there was the other one you just mentioned.
There's Viking Wolf.
Viking Wolf. Is it just so you're going to keep it to those 4, or do you plan on doing even more?
So I think one of my biggest faults is I can't say no to cool projects. So I'm fortunate that a lot of artists want to work with me. So I'm always coming up with new ideas for projects. So there's other books out there that are in the works. I will say my next 3 projects, the artwork is already all done for my next.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so you're going to see a bunch more new books. I think the first campaign I'm going to release next year, because after US Assassin 3, I'm going to take the rest of the year off. I feel like
that's perfectly fine. Hey, I think you've earned it. You've earned it.
No, that'll be 5 campaigns fulfilled this year, and I fulfilled 5 last year too. So I'm going to take a break, but 2022 first campaign I'm going to launch is Black Owl, which is a new book that I'm doing with artist Greg Poulton.
Oh, nice. Now, are you going to make it clear going forward what books are in the universe and which one's going to be in their own self-contained? Because I think for some people like me, that would be appreciative if there are ones who are, because that's one thing I've noticed. They're like with something like your boy Zach. I'm mostly sticking to Jawbreakers lately, but I don't know what stuff is tied in or not. I know that the current Knife Blade, whichever one is connected, but you never know. So what I mean.
No, I think as of now, like everything I'm doing is going to be connected to the universe. Some characters might be on the outside. I'm actually working on an old like World War II ghost story book, so that. I mean, that theoretically could take place in the universe, but there would be no tie to, like, you don't see graveyards with characters
right.
or U.S. assassin popping up just because of the difference.
Maybe Dracula, but that might be it, right?
Yeah, that's a possibility.
Yeah, because that would be the only logical one, because who else would be around that long, right?
Yeah.
Yep. All right. So, yeah, and now, of course, have you been keeping up with comics currently, on either indie, crowdfunded, or big two or whatever? Have you kept up with any books?
I try to. I try to go to my LCS every week. I buy the comics. They sit in a pile. Eventually, I get to them. I mean, I still get G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero every month.
Kind of out of an obligation, almost, right?
Yeah. The Ninja Turtles, they were doing the last Ronin story, which I pick up at it seems like there's been a big gap in between.
Unfortunately, they've been worth it though. The weights are always worth it with each issue.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
I am loving that. The fact that was meant to be their Dark Knight Returns for the Turtles, and what people forget, I think what some people forget, is that it was just a treatment. They never had anything, like no artwork, no nothing planned out, just a treatment that they're working off of. So that's probably why it's taking so long, because they still have to write everything out.
Yeah, no. And like some other books, I don't know if there's anything Marvel I'm picking up right now. DC, I still pick up Suicide Squad. I'm reading that.
Did you read the annual yet?
No, I haven't.
Oh, okay. I won't spoil it, but they do explain the two Superboys.
Oh, awesome. Yeah,
I'll just say, though, it's one of those duh moments. Like, you should have seen coming if you know your pre-New 52 lore.
Yeah. And then there's some Image books that I've been picking up, like Geiger.
Oh, Geiger. I love Geiger. Jeff Johns. That's a case of sneaking in a bigger universe under your nose.
Yeah. No, Jeff Johns, one of my favorite writers. So what I heard he was, doing his own creator-owned book, I had to pick it up.
Oh yeah, 'cause you never thought he would be doing it. You always been thinking like
you would think he was DC for life, but yeah,
exactly. But so yeah, yeah. But then I would say, in case of Image for me, you have Noctera as well from Scott Snyder and Tony Daniel. That's been a clever idea as well. But I give more props to Jeff for making a bigger universe than just this is like a backdoor pilot for a show or movie, which I hate to say, Noctera gives me that vibe of.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, like why do you think some people are kind of always hesitant to make a bigger universe, even when they're doing it independent? Because I've noticed that there's always some people who, some like a Robert Kirkman who's like, I have multiple universes I'm spinning at one time, and there are others who feel like I just want to keep it as one title and not broaden anything. Do you think it's lack of creativity, or do you think it's just like they want to focus on the one story, or what?
Yeah, I think a lot of it probably has to do with Hollywood, that they want to sell the idea to Hollywood, and if it's this huge connected universe, it's a little more it's a little harder sell, because then you have all these other titles that tie into it, and
you would think they would want a fictional universe, though. You'd think they want the next MCU or something, so you would almost think that, but.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think some of these companies are just like, let's dip our toe in the superhero comic book property and see if it works out, and then we'll get more after it's successful. That's
very true. Which is always weird, because there are times where they play safe, and then there's others where they learn the wrong lesson from everything and think like, this was a big hit because it was dark and gritty. Let's make everything dark and gritty. What about the rest of the story? No, if it was dark and gritty, I mean, come on. That's what Watchmen caused and Dark Knight Returns caused in comics. You have people learning the wrong lesson from it. It was like, yeah. So I'll just say this. With me, with DC, I've been buying so many DCs, but I will say this. Never in my wildest dreams would I have ever mentioned Joshua Williamson bringing back the empty ham from Grant Morrison's Multiversity. The Gentry and all that. That's the next threat. I'm like, you're going that far? Wow. I mean, that's one thing I always give. Sometimes in comics, they'll still surprise you if you've been following along, at least. If you didn't, you're going to be like, who's this? Don't care.
Yeah, no, but that's the good thing when you do get those surprises that you weren't expecting.
Exactly. And because at first you think like, oh boy, Darkseid's going to be the big bad, and then it turned out, nope, he's been trying to stop the big bad. You're like, you know what? That's more of a Darkseid thing when you think about it. But beforehand, you also think he's just as much willing to take over the world. but but yeah, I mean, I'm glad that things are going great for you, and you and again, Mark and Tim and myself are proof that even I can get my own stuff out. Because I think I might have told you or shown you some of my ideas before. I have all these fiction, it's my own fictional universe all sought out. And similar to you, I have some with single heroes, some with a big team, and all that stuff. It's just a matter of consolidating it all into a consistent narrative is my problem. So what would you say, any pointers you want to give for that, where you have all these ideas and you want to try and like pick and choose what works best and make a good narrative out of it? Any pointers you want to give?
Well, I think for like when it's your like preparing your first campaign, I would stick to something a little easier, to handle, and something that's self-contained, just so that the reader, they're getting a full story the first time around. Especially if you're not like a known entity,
True. Like me. I mean, you and John at least had a little bit of an advantage. Like you worked at DC and in other places, and John was John, especially when you guys started. So
and John had the success of Jawbreakers too, which helped us.
Oh yeah, that helped a lot. Yeah. That definitely helped a lot. Okay, because I mean, think about that. My big problem is that I have so many characters. Like, which one do I focus on first? Because they all can be told simply and self-contained. But at the same time, though, it's like there's always that desire to rush in and be like, I want to bring that character, and I want to bring that character, and like, have you ever dealt with that as well, where you feel like you want to bring in a character you've already created but haven't introduced yet, but you want to do it like, I want to do it now, but it wouldn't make sense for the story.
Oh, sure, yeah. Like, I think I get. My newest idea is always my favorite. So even though right now Mike and I were campaigning and promoting U.S. Assassin 3, there's a character in Volume 5 that I want to introduce that I was like, oh, I wish we could introduce him now because I'm so eager to start working on him. But you got to take your time, and introducing him earlier wouldn't really make any sense to the story. And then if we did introduce him, well, then that goes like the big thing I had planned for Volume 5. Then I have to figure out a whole new
and even if you tease, even if you just do a tease with him earlier, it would then be a case of where especially if I was to do it in my first volume, what people are going to probably focus on that, like, okay, I got all this, but what was that part about? And you want to tease people, but you don't want to be what they dwell on, correct? Because it's like that tricky balance of it, right?
Yeah, I think a good tease makes you want more of the character, or at least gives you questions of like, who is that? But when it's the main focus, or it's out of left field, it can be a little distracting to the story you're trying to tell.
Like everything's set on Earth, then you cut the space and there's some shadowy figure, and you're like, and he's just all like ready to come to Earth or whatever, but you don't do it as the clipping. You just do it right in the middle of the story, and you never go back to it. They'll be like, wait, what was that all about?
Yeah, I think in like the current Graveyard Shift 3, I think we did a good job of telling our story, and then at the end we gave you that little tease of what's coming next.
Definitely, and so we probably will see more of that other Van Helsing, right?
Oh yeah,
his team.
Yeah,
cool. So, yep, I'm about running. I thought I had more to ask about, but I think you answered everything perfectly clearly. I thank you so much for coming on again. I'll probably ask you it by near the end of next year, I think, after you've gotten all your campaigns out again, and ask you more about those, because I like to keep catching up with certain creators, after they've gotten more books out and everything, and ask them like, so yeah, what led to all this and that, and I can't wait to see what next year brings.
Thank you. Yeah, anytime you want me on, just ask.
Yep, and I do plan on getting like I said, I'll get U.S. Assassin Volume 3. I'm still hemming and hawing on the backup book. I mean, be honest, And is that required reading, or is that just a fun read that's not going to be required?
It's not a required reading. If you want more information on the mercenary story, I would suggest getting it because there's a pretty important reveal with him in that story.
All right. Well, what about Bazooka Dog? He's more. From what it looks more like a silly story, right?
Yeah, the Bazooka Dog story is just a fun story my son and I wrote.
So it's kind of akin to little Graveyard Shift, right? Kind of like that.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. So then I'll take that into account. Then I will definitely take that into account. So thank you again, Mark. I wish we had more to talk about, but you know how it goes, right? Sometimes you think you have it all thought out, and you're like, "Oh wow, that went by faster than I thought."
Yeah, no problem.
Yep. Thank you so much. Thank anyone that's still here for joining in, and I'll catch you all later.